what's up, everybody? I'm Dr. Regina Bradley, and this is Outkasted Conversations number 40. And in the building, we got one of my favorite artists, because I went to go see his stuff, and it was just dope. Shit was just brilliant. Is Robert Hodge, visual artist extraordinaire. Mr. Hodge, how you?
I'm good. How you doing? I'm honored to be on the show.
It's whatever. It's whatever. We about to have a little bit of fun and everything. But you know what you got to do to get into the club? How did you become outcasted?
I became outcasted, I think, in '96 when Elevators dropped, and that song grabbed me. That was it for me. Southern Playalistic was dope, but I was a little too young. But when that Elevators single came out, yeah, it had me hooked.
That girl whole business.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your artwork? Like, I know you're from Houston. So I love that whole Southern thing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your work and what influences it?
My work is primarily about history, but it's a strong side of music. You know, I'm a hip hop head, so I just tell like these cultural and political things through the lens of hip hop. But I also pull back from history and I kind of project to the future. But yeah, I just try to make it relevant, you know, and for me, the story is hip hop, you know.
Yeah, that's dope. Let's talk about your latest exhibition, Destroy and Rebuild, which is absolutely brilliant. I really like how you have like the multimodal, multiple influences. Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, what the purpose of the project was and how you're using hip hop to reconsider history?
Sure, for sure. Well, first thing, I just thought the title Destroy and Rebuild. I mean, that's the kind of way I kind of felt a little bit about music in terms of what's happening. I feel like before you can rebuild, you have to destroy. And so that's going not only with the work, how it's made, but the mentality and the culture. So you'd have to destroy, you rebuild. Very simple name, but then it got complicated with the work. Because, you know, I wanted to destroy all of these images that we see, you know, my whole life and, like, kind of rebuilding with, like, our culture and who we are. And, like, you know, our stuff is deep, you know, so it's massive. It's bigger than slavery. It's bigger than these things that I was just accustomed to seeing all the time, especially, you know, living in Houston.
Yeah. So let's bring Outkast into the conversation. So you have a couple of pieces where it's like, you know, my favorite piece was Mainstream, right? Like, I mean, you literally took the line from the joint on ATLians, and it was like you completely reconfigured what that means in terms of not only mainstream hip hop, but, you know, what our places in it as Southern folks. I mean, like, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, how is Outkast significant to your project?
Yeah, Outkast, that whole organized noise music organization was so important because they told the other side of what I was always hearing from, like, street life and being Southern, but, like, the repercussions or you know, what happens when you do certain things in the street life. And, like, floating down in the mainstream was like one of those songs that just kind of, when I saw the image in the show that you're talking about, that song just kind of just resonated with me. Like I say, man, you know, when you sell drugs or whatever you're doing in life, man, it's something on the other end of that. And Outkast always kind of like told you both sides of the story. So it's just never like, you know, the popping part of the song. It's like, okay, this is what happens when you do this. And so I always appreciated that with all of the music from all them guys, man. They always kind of gave you the 360.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really dope how you're taking, I mean, it's interesting because for me, when I looked at the exhibit when I was in Houston last month, it was you were putting Southern hip-hop in conversation with, like, a larger discussion of hip-hop, in conversation with, like, a larger discussion of where black folks fit into this conversation about, you know, American blackness, diasporic blackness. You have some really dope pieces that you played around with Venus Hottentot, with the Anaconda joint. I mean, like, it was just kind of like, how did you find ways to pair these critiques together to really make us reconsider the significance of hip-hop as a form of cultural critique?
I mean, well, with that show, I got to that point because I had got invited to do a show in London, and it was called Young Masters. So they want me to pull from, like, these amazing paintings that already existed in the art world and kind of make these new ones out of them. But I wasn't really interested in doing it. I wanted to tell our story through these paintings that I kind of grew up and seeing in museums, which only had black people in servitude. You know, it was always slave imagery. So I knew I wanted to, you know, combine it with hip hop. So just me seeing those paintings, those songs just kind of popped in my head. It was like, it was a 5-minute thing. It wasn't even this long kind of like research. I would see a painting and this song would pop in my head. It'd be, okay, that's Missy. Why you all in my grill? Like that you know, those kind of words kind of spoke to me. So it was easy to pair them. It's just like how to visually make it make sense, you know. Because even when you build this whole conceptual frame with a painting, you still got to make a great painting. That always has to be in the mix. So
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's like I'm not a visual artist at all. Like I just marvel at folks like you and Stacey Robinson and John Jennings. You know what I'm saying? Being able to take these multiple, visual aesthetics and reconfigure them to mean something completely different. So like can you talk a little bit about the actual mediums that you were using to make these? I wouldn't even call them paintings. I feel like they're a lot more than that, right? Like I mean, can you give me a little bit about how you picked and how you put it together, all that good stuff?
yeah, I consider them paintings, but kind of like wall sculptures. I gather materials around the city, mostly off the wall, and I take that old reclaimed paper and I just stack that paper. I let it sit out and dry, sew it back together, and so you have this layer of history that's in the work also, but it's also like just a physical labor of doing the paintings. So I want you to feel that you can't see everything in history. You don't get to history is told by the victors. So I'm telling my story, I'm telling our story, so it's a story of victory. So in terms, I just take found things and things that nobody want. I kind of make them to like these beautiful objects, and that's all from like being where I grew up and seeing these things, like seeing trash and like how do you recycle these beautiful objects that people might not necessarily deem as beautiful. And yeah, so that's how I kind of started. But they're pretty much paintings, It's threading and painting and so it's all existing there, but they're kind of like sculptures now.
Mm. Mm. So, I got to ask you. So, I mean, like, visual culture is a huge part of how we understand Outkast work. It's not necessarily just listening to them. It's what you can actually see, right?
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on the significance of Outkast as visual artists?
Oh, man. The art of storytelling. One of my favorite songs is Slick Rick. Like, they were just great at that, man. Like, especially Andre, man. Big Boy, too. I mean, just like, yeah, those words, closing your eyes and listen to a song and you can see the whole world. Like, I can imagine characters from their verses, and that's a big part of it. I mean, we all go hand in hand. Like, you inspire me so much, music, like all these different things I take and just make these paintings. But I feel like we all fit into this puzzle. Cause my rhyme skills are okay, but like yeah, I mean that man, they were amazing at that. And so yeah, I pulled from that. I mean, almost all the songs. It was powerful.
Yeah, I just think that you can't think about one without the other, and I think that's what's really great about your work is that you can't just visualize. I mean, you can visualize the lyrics that you're using, for example, but that's not the only things you can do. You're forcing yourself to reconsider what the significance is, and I think that's part of that whole destroy and rebuild theme that you were playing around with. But I mean, like ultimately, it's one of the things I've been thinking about, and often I talk to my students about is when we think about hip-hop culture, we automatically kind of just stop at the music. Why is it important for us to include the visual aspects of hip-hop as well?
Because, I mean, like I said, it's like five senses. It's a lot of ways we interpret the world. It's like if you just only had sight, all those things kind of feed into it's vibrations. So music is a very important. It's important, but imagine a movie without those sound effects and those things you hear in the background, like all those encompass make the whole project. So yeah, the music is a part of it, but then the visual that gives you that self-esteem. That like I said, going to the museum and not seeing any images of us on the wall. I mean, that's a big part of culture. So I got my part of music. We feel like that's ours, but the art is ours too. I mean, all those things kind of fit together. So for me, just reaching back and just giving that confidence to kids and people to let them know, like, look, man, we have a voice that's I guess it's visual.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that. There's multiple. You have multiple types of voices, right? Like it's not just spitting. It's how you present yourself visually. It's how you articulate yourself in the academy or whatever. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that's brilliant. But so how can the people get in touch with you? What else you got going on? All that good stuff.
Oh, wow. Well, what I have going on now is I'm actually dropping an album called 2.5 Years, and it's the story of Juneteenth. And I'm doing it with an amazing artist called Tierney Malone. That's just like a music project. And so this story is going to encompass telling the story of Juneteenth around music, contemporary music. So we I kind of tell a story that I need to tell. It doesn't have to be in a painting. It can be in music, it can be in an installation. I've been doing performance art, but the people can find me at Robert Leroy Hodge on Instagram. I have a website, www.robertleroyhodge.com. You can find me on Twitter, The Hodge Show, Facebook, Robert Hodge. Yeah, just kind of check out what we're doing, man. But it's a group of us, man. We all kind of click together down here. So we were dropping a lot of projects in 2015, for sure.
Oh, I can't wait. I got adopted fam. Now that I've been out to Houston and things. I'm part of
You got to come back. Yeah, you got to.
So you know what you got to do to get into the club. How did you become Outkasted?
How did I become an Outkast fan? Honestly, I became an Outkast fan 1995, my freshman year of high school, man. My homeboy was taking me home one day after football practice, and he popped in a CD, and this is what I heard.
Follow the funk from the skunk in the tank that is crunk in the dungeon. It goes on and on and on like that, going out to the jeeps and the hoes and the Lex. All sookie.
So, when I heard that, I was hooked. I was like, who was this? He told me it was a group called Outkast. I couldn't believe that it was some dudes from my hometown. The next day, I went to Turtles and copped it for myself.
Everybody move to the back of the bus. Do you want to bump and stomp with us? We the type of people make the club get crunk.
This song right there is how I became Outkasted. Rosa Parks, 1998. I was in kindergarten, didn't know nothing about no rap, but that song right there introduced me into Outkast, and now I'm here.
The year was 1998. The place was the Lee County High School debate tournament in Lee County, Georgia, and I will be forever grateful to some debater from Warner Robins, whose name I've already forgotten, for lending me his copy of Equimini, the beginning of a beautiful relationship with me and Outkast, not with me and the debater. Don't even remember his name.
It had to be back in 1993, 94, Southside Middle School time, riding around to that players ball. First song I heard, first time I fell in love, Outkast.
Like whether you be from Old National, or you be from Cobb County, I think everybody shows love for Outkast. They are Atlanta, they are Georgia, their music is just transcends any and everything, and there's no other way to put it. That they're the best duo that ever has. I mean, you talking about Batman, Robin, Pippen and Jordan. Andre and Big Boy, man, ain't nothing better.
Okay, I first fell in love with Outkast after it probably had to be the ATLians album with Wheels of Steel, Jezebel, Fish and Grits. But I really became a fan after Equimini with Spody Odie Dopalicious. And I always love Outkast because I feel like they represent Georgia so well, and dynamic duo.
Alright, so my introduction to Outkast, I got two. First, as a non-music connoisseur, was when I was in 6th grade, Southern Playalistic, 1994. And later on, as I got into music, real tough, in 8th grade, ATLians, Me and You. The video came on, it was on BET, everybody loved BET, at the time watching videos. After that, I was hooked.
I've been a fan of Outkast since the very beginning with Southern Playalistic Cadillac music, but the key moment that I would probably remember in terms of being a fan was when I was an undergraduate at Loyola University, November 1996, and I wrote this review as the entertainment editor for the Loyola Phoenix newspaper. And I remember I got in trouble because I quoted lines from it where they cursed in the song, but I was trying to go for more of a Rolling Stone kind of feel, and I was one of the first people to write about hip-hop for the paper, and this was an album I was really proud of reviewing. So thank you, Regina. Thank you, Outkast, for giving us so much good music, and that's it.
And the question that I'm answering is, when did I fall in love with Outkast, or when did I get Outkasted? It would probably be 8th grade, the summer or the spring of 93 or the fall of 93, or the spring of 94, when I heard Southern Playalistic Cadillac funky music. It was hot, banging. I loved the bass in it. they didn't have a card in, but I knew that once I got a car, I was gonna get me a LAC, and I was gonna drop it and put some new interior in it and put some 12s in the trunk and some 6x9s on the dash. And I was gonna play songs like Southern Playlist, Cadillac, Funky Music.
What up, Darius Carter here. So I became an Outkast fan when I was 14 years old. I was living in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Sporty Odie Dopalicious was playing on the radio. And at the time I was in band with this girl named Donna Keisha, and we were both playing trumpet. And so we learned how to play Sporty Odie Dopalicious on trumpet in true Southern fashion. And I've been riding with Outkast ever since.
Can't remember exactly how old I was, but I remember I wanted to be like my big cousins, and my big cousins used to listen to Outkast all the time. And the one song in particular that I fell in love with Outkast would have to be Elevators. When I heard that me and you, your mama and your cousins too, I was hooked from that point on, and that's when I got Outkast.
Personally became an Outkast fan when I moved to Atlanta for college, specifically when we moved to East Point and would ride by Helen and the Low on a daily basis. Music just speaks to you a little bit differently when you're living in the environment, and I'll be forever grateful and appreciative of Outkast for sharing the city of Atlanta with me. Fila, peace up, A-Town down.
Hello everyone, this is Portia from University of Michigan.
Nigel B, Howard University.
All right, and we're trying to get Outkasted today.
Okay, let me tell you how I got Outkasted. Middle school, 7th, 8th grade, on the bus to the football game. I heard a song called AT Aliens, and I heard this verse, and I'm colder than a polar bear's toenail. Oh, hell.
And for me, south side of Chicago, Dope Boy Fresh, Elevators, Me and you already know the rest. So that's how we get Outkasted. Yes.
I would say I fell in love with Outkast back when they did Players Ball for the LaFace Christmas album. I was growing up in Japan and really hadn't been exposed to much Southern hip hop at the time. And then when I finally moved back stateside in 95, 96, that's when AT Aliens came out, and it's been on ever since. So I would say it's been a joyous occasion being an Outkast fan.
I started listening to Outkast when I was like a freshman in high school. One of my best friends had told me, you got to check out Aquemini. It's like one of the best hip hop records of all time. I took his word for it, went home and downloaded it, and for sure, like that record is still, in constant rotation in my car. It's one of my favorite hip hop albums that I've ever heard. And there's just something so unmistakably Southern about Outkast. It's just good hip hop.
My name is Jasmine, and I became a fan of Outkast back in '96 when they dropped AT Aliens. I was in middle school, and I was absolutely hooked on Wheels of Steel, Elevators, Me, You, Your Mama, Sister, and Your Cousin Too, Two Dope Boys in a Cadillac, you name it. And I remained a fan of theirs from middle school, high school, on throughout college. I'm still a fan now.
I fell in love with Outkast in 2000 with Stank On It. That's one of the best rap albums ever. I mean, it has so many hits, in particular, So Fresh and So Clean. I mean, it was the getting ready to the party anthem. I mean, you got clean and you went out and did your thing. I love that album. 3000, best lyricist alive. If you don't agree with me, find a verse, we'll trade it. I mean, he just didn't kill it. He can't, because he was the best. That's Outkast, hip hop legends.
Outkast, man. What can you say about Outkast? More so, what can't you say about Outkast? Awesome, trend-setting duo between those two. Look, I remember being in the 8th grade, late 2000, early 2001, around that time when they came out with Miss Jackson, and I thought it was wacky. I thought it was different. I thought it was a type of hip hop that I don't think mainstream America outside of Georgians had actually had a chance to experience. Another tune that they had was shortly after was So Fresh and So Clean. I went to an all-black high school, right, and I played the trombone. I still do. We marched on the field to So Fresh and So Clean, and the whole drum bass line breakdown was, I mean.
I became Outkasted in 1998 with the release of Aquemini. I appreciated the quality of Southern playalistic Cadillac music and ATLiens, but it wasn't until I was 15 with the release of Aquemini that I could appreciate the sonic and lyrical content of what Outkast was bringing to the stage at that level. As a Southerner, it was important to me to hear our sound broadcasted on such a wide stage, because before that, it just wasn't happening on that level.
Oh, never mind me, man. Just a couple of gold bottles, man. We're getting ready for the turn up tonight. And then, first of all, man, nothing says A-Town more than, man, just a varsity shirt and a Falcons hat. You know what I'm talking about, man? Shout out to the Grady Babies. Shout out to the Grindtown Rap Gang. Bang, bang, bang. How'd I get into Outkast, man? To be honest with you, it had to be after the Southern playalistic Cadillac funky music. Just for the simple fact, my mom was throwing everything out the house that had cussing on it. So that's just straight up. You know what I'm talking about? But look, man, you know, coming up mid-90s, man, these were our modern day Negro spirituals. They were telling stories that we could relate to, naming parts of Atlanta that we could identify with. When we heard Pop, when we heard Biggie on the radio from East Coast, West Coast rivalry, all that was cool and all, but it's something that we can identify with. So
I began listening to Outkast when I was about in the 8th grade. I remember coming back from a band trip and we stopped and picked up the CD Southern Playalistic. And then once I heard Players Ball and I heard these chords right here, I was hooked from then on out. I bought all the CDs from then on out, even Idlewild.
Billy James, Stone Mountain, Georgia. I've been an Outkast fan since 1993, the LaFace Christmas album, but I really became Outkasted when they told me, you need to get up, get out, and get something. Don't let the days of your life pass by. You need to get up, get out, and get something. Don't spend all your time trying to get high. I didn't have no job. I got kicked out of school. I heard that song once again, and I went and got me a job, got back in school, moved out the country, and I've been doing the same thing ever since, baby. Thank you, Outkast, A-Town, baby.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you at this place and time. I'm coming to you right now from the Outkasted chair. Every conversation was done here, so I'm thankful that y'all allowed me to come here and say my spill. It's about damn time. How did I become Outkasted? I'm from Valdosta, Georgia, South Georgia, Titletown, USA. You know, and when I first moved to Valdosta, we didn't really have anything to rep that was ours. We had little local bands, but nobody really captured the whole city up like Outkast did. When Outkast came through, it was an amazing thing. We was able to rep something. They captured the whole essence of the South, all the different sounds and nuances that made us unique was all captured in Outkast. It went to the point where we started rapping A-hats and Atlanta Braves jersey, even though we ain't even close to Atlanta. But damn it, we was Atlanta at that point in time. And then once I came to Morris Brown and they started filming videos on our campus and doing concerts on campus, I've never lost that love for Outkast. I just wish that they continue to make great music, and hopefully Andre will get off his feelings and get back in the studio, because we need some more Outkast.
I'm Dr. Regina Bradley. This has been Outkasted Conversations. Thank you for watching. Y'all be easy.